Marcus Stone was filming the biggest action movie of his career when a lighting technician collapsed on set. What Marcus did in the next few minutes didn't just pause a $100 million production. It changed how movie studios treated their crew members. And his co-star, veteran actor James Chen, watched it happen and later said Marcus just became the most courageous person in Hollywood. It was September 2019. A massive soundstage in Atlanta, Georgia. The air conditioning had been broken for 2 days, and inside the warehouse-sized building, it felt like working in an oven. Marcus Stone, James Chen, and director Sofia Rodriguez were in the middle of filming Steel City, an action thriller that was supposed to launch a whole new franchise. But on September 18th, something happened that almost shut down the entire movie. Something that showed who Marcus Stone really was when nobody was paying attention. The movie industry in 2019 was tough. Not the exciting kind of tough you see in behind-the-scenes documentaries, but the real kind. The kind where crew members worked 16-hour days with no overtime pay. Where people were told, be grateful you have this job, if they complained. Lighting techs, sound operators, camera assistants, they were treated like they didn't matter. If you couldn't handle the hours, someone else would take your place. Marcus had seen it throughout his 10-year career. He'd watch people work until they were exhausted, get sick, and then disappear from sets. But he'd never been in a position where he felt he could change things. He was an actor. He showed up, did his scenes, and went back to his fancy trailer. That's what everyone expected. But something was different about this production. Maybe it was the heat making everyone irritable. Maybe it was seeing the crew struggling while the producers stayed in their air-conditioned offices. Or maybe Marcus had finally reached a point where watching wasn't enough anymore. September 18th was the day Marcus Stone stopped being just a movie star and became something more important. The scene they were shooting was a huge explosion sequence. Fake fire, smoke machines, the whole deal. They'd been running it over and over for 5 hours because the director wanted it perfect. The crew was exhausted. One of the lighting technicians, a woman named Lisa Chun, no relation to James, had been up on a scaffolding platform for 3 hours adjusting lights in the heat and smoke. Lisa was 41 years old. She'd been working in film for 15 years, doing lighting on everything from small indie films to big blockbusters. She had a husband, David, and a teenage son back home. She was good at her job and proud of it. Lisa's job that day was to operate a large spotlight from a platform 20 feet in the air. Every time they ran the scene, she had to adjust the light to follow the actors. It was hot up there. The smoke from the effects made it hard to breathe. But Lisa was a professional. She kept going. Around 2 p.m., during the 7th take, Lisa suddenly swayed on the platform. Her coworker next to her noticed and grabbed her arm. "You okay?" he asked. Lisa nodded, but she looked pale. Sweat was pouring down her face, and she seemed confused. "I just need some water," she said. "Let's get you down from here," her coworker said. But before they could move, Lisa's eyes rolled back and she collapsed. Her coworker caught her and yelled, "We need help up here. She's passed out." The assistant director called cut. Everyone stopped. A few crew members rushed toward the scaffolding ladder. The set medic grabbed his kit and started climbing up. Marcus Stone, still in costume and covered in fake dirt from the explosion scene, pushed through the crowd to see what was happening. By the time the medic reached Lisa, she was barely conscious. Her skin was burning hot. Her breathing was fast and shallow. The medic checked her quickly, and his face went serious. "Heat exhaustion, maybe heat stroke," he said loudly. "We need to cool her down now and get her to a hospital." The line producer, a man named Derek Walsh, appeared from nowhere. Walsh was the studio's numbers guy. His job was to make sure filming stayed on schedule and under budget. He looked up at Lisa being helped down the scaffolding and pulled out his phone. "Get her some water and have someone drive her to urgent care," Walsh said. "And let's reset. We need 3 more takes of this before we lose the light." The medic was helping Lisa down the ladder. She could barely stand. "She needs an emergency room, not urgent care," the medic said. "Heat stroke is serious." Walsh didn't look up from his phone. "Then have someone take her to the ER. But we're not calling an ambulance and shutting down production." "Do you know what an ambulance on set costs in lost time?" "About $50,000. That's when Marcus walked over. He'd been watching everything, and his jaw was tight. What hospital? Marcus asked. Walsh glanced at him. Piedmont, Atlanta, probably. What? Who's paying for it? Walsh finally looked at Marcus directly. She has insurance through the union. That's what it's for. Now, we really need to get back to, what about the rest? Marcus interrupted. Lost wages while she recovers? Where she can't work for weeks. Walsh's expression turned cold. That's not the production's responsibility. She's union. They have benefits. This is all standard procedure. Marcus took a breath. Standard procedure is making people work in this heat with broken AC. The AC repair company can't get here until tomorrow. What do you want me to do about it? Shut down for the day. Give everyone a break. Walsh actually laughed. Shut down? Do you have any idea what that costs? We're talking $200,000 a day. We have a schedule. We have a budget. Marcus looked around the set. Crew members had stopped pretending to work. Everyone was listening now. James Chen had come out of his trailer and stood nearby, watching quietly. How much is a person worth? Marcus asked. Excuse me. I asked how much a person is worth. Because it sounds like you're saying Lisa isn't worth $200,000. Walsh's face turned red. Don't twist my words. I'm saying we have a business to run. People depend on this production. If we shut down every time someone gets overheated, someone collapsed from heat stroke because you won't fix the AC, Marcus said, his voice rising. That's not getting overheated. That's dangerous. Sofia Rodriguez, the director, walked over. Marcus, I understand you're upset, but are you okay with this? Marcus turned to her. You're okay with people collapsing while we play with fake explosions? Sofia looked uncomfortable. Of course I'm not okay with it. But Derek's right. We have obligations. Contracts. Deadlines. Marcus looked at Lisa being helped toward the exit. She could barely walk. Her co-workers were supporting her on both sides. Then shoot without me, Marcus said. The entire soundstage went silent. Walsh stared at him. What did you just say? I said shoot without me. I'm done for the day. Actually, I'm done until the AC is fixed and Lisa's medical bills are covered. You have a contract, Walsh said slowly. You can't just refuse to work. That's breach of contract. The studio will sue you. Marcus pulled off his costume jacket and handed it to a wardrobe assistant. Then they can sue me. But I'm not working while people are collapsing from heat. Walsh stepped closer, lowering his voice to a threatening whisper. You do this and you're finished. The studio will make sure you never work on a major production again. They'll bury you in lawsuits. Your career will be over. Do you understand? Marcus didn't back down. My career isn't worth more than her health. The silence was total. Everyone on that soundstage knew what this meant. In Hollywood, studios had power. Real power. They could blacklist actors. They could destroy careers with a few phone calls. Marcus Stone knew this. Everyone knew this. But Marcus wasn't moving. Walsh played his final card. This production employs 300 people. Every day we don't shoot, that's 300 people not getting paid. You want that on your conscience? You want to be responsible for 300 families not making their rent? Marcus looked around at the crew. Camera operators, sound techs, makeup artists, the construction crew who built the sets. All of them watching to see what would happen next. Then Marcus did something that changed everything. How many of you have worked when you were sick or hurt because you couldn't afford to take a day off? He called out. Nobody moved at first. Then slowly, hands started going up. 1, then 5, then dozens. More than half the crew raised their hands. Someone had worked with the flu. Someone else had worked on a sprained ankle. Another person had worked through a migraine that made them vomit between takes. All because taking a sick day meant losing pay they couldn't afford to lose. Marcus turned back to Walsh. So it's not just today. It's every day. You're telling me that's just how it has to be. Walsh's jaw clenched. This is a business. Not everyone can be a millionaire actor. Some people have to work hard. Then let me make this really simple, Marcus said. Either the studio pays Lisa's medical bills, all of them, and fixes the AC before we shoot another frame, or I walk. And I'll tell every reporter who will listen exactly why this production shut down. How a crew member got heat stroke because the studio was too cheap to fix the air conditioning. The threat hung in the air. In 2019, with social media, that kind of story could go viral in minutes. It could become a scandal that would cost the studio millions in bad publicity and boycotts. Walsh's face went from red to purple. "You're bluffing." That's when James Chen stepped forward. The veteran actor, who'd been in the industry for 30 years, walked up and stood next to Marcus. He didn't say anything. He just stood there. Then Sofia Rodriguez joined them. Then the cinematographer. Then the stunt coordinator. One by one, key members of the crew walked over and stood with Marcus. Not saying anything, just standing there in solidarity. Walsh looked around. He was outnumbered. If Marcus walked, they couldn't shoot. If James walked too, the movie was dead. And if this became a public scandal about worker safety, the damage would be catastrophic. Walsh pulled out his phone. "I need to make some calls." He walked away. Marcus didn't move. He just stood there, arms crossed, waiting. The crew didn't reset anything. Nobody moved. The entire production was frozen. Hundreds of thousands of dollars burning away with every minute, but nobody cared. Something more important was happening. 25 minutes later, Walsh came back. His face was carefully neutral. "The studio will cover Lisa Chen's medical expenses," he said stiffly. "And we're bringing an emergency AC repair right now. Should be fixed in a few hours." Marcus didn't smile. "I want that in writing. And I want to know Lisa's condition before we shoot again." Walsh hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. You'll have it in an hour." Marcus addressed the crew. "Anybody else here dealing with unsafe conditions? Speak up now, because if we're doing this, we're doing it right." A few people started speaking up. Broken safety harnesses that hadn't been replaced. Scaffolding that wobbled. Smoke machines that made people cough. One by one, crew members mentioned things that made the set dangerous. Sophia cleared her throat. "All right, let's take the rest of the day. We'll do a full safety inspection tonight and resume tomorrow when the AC is fixed." As people started to disperse, James Chen pulled Marcus aside. "That took guts," James said. "You know the studio's going to remember this, right? They're going to make things difficult for you." Marcus shrugged. "Let them. I can't unsee what I just saw." James studied him for a moment, then shook his hand. "You're all right, kid. You're really all right." That evening, Marcus went to Piedmont Atlanta Hospital. Lisa was in a room, hooked up to N4 but awake. Her husband David was there, looking worried and holding a hospital bill estimate. Marcus knocked softly. "Mrs. Chen? I'm Marcus Stone. I was on set when you got hurt." Lisa looked up at him, her voice weak. "I know who you are. You didn't have to come here. I wanted to make sure you were okay. And I need you to know, the studio is covering everything. The hospital bills, your lost wages, everything. You don't have to worry about the money." David stared at him. "What? How?" "Because what happened to your wife wasn't her fault. And it's not right that you should pay for the studio's mistakes." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. Marcus stayed for an hour, just talking with them, because nobody else from the production was there. Lisa recovered fully. It took her 2 weeks to get back to normal, and the studio paid for every day. They also hired a safety supervisor for the rest of the production and fixed equipment that had been reported as faulty. Steel City finished filming 3 weeks behind schedule and $5 million over budget. The studio tried to blame Marcus. His next 2 movie offers mysteriously disappeared. Projects he was attached to suddenly went to other actors. But Marcus had something the studio didn't expect. He had James Chen telling everyone what really happened. He had Sofia Rodriguez backing up his story. And he had a crew that spread the word throughout the industry. Within 6 months, the story of what Marcus Stone did became legendary among crew members. Not in the celebrity gossip magazines. The studios made sure of that. But among the people who actually made movies, the grips, the electricians, the set designers, Marcus Stone became a hero. In 2020, after several similar incidents on other productions, new industry safety guidelines were implemented. Studios were required to maintain safe working conditions and provide comprehensive coverage for work-related injuries. The changes were partly inspired by what happened on the Steel City set. Marcus never took credit, but everyone knew. Lisa Chen kept in touch with Marcus. Every year on the anniversary of that day, she'd send him a message. Not for publicity, just because she wanted him to know she appreciated what he did. When Marcus won an Oscar in 2023, Lisa was in the audience. A reporter asked her what Marcus Stone meant to her. Marcus Stone stood up when nobody else would, she said. He risked his career for people he barely knew. That's not just being a movie star. That's being a good human being. The story of Steel City is usually told as a decent action movie that underperformed at the box office. But there's another story buried in that film. A story about what happened when someone with fame decided to use it for something bigger than themselves. Marcus Stone stopped a production on September 18th, 2019. He risked his reputation and his future. He stood up to studio executives and refused to back down. And he did it for a lighting technician named James Chen, who collapsed from heat stroke because the studio wouldn't fix the air conditioning. That's not just a good story. That's a reminder that fame means nothing if you don't use it to protect people who can't protect themselves. Marcus Stone wasn't a crusader. He wasn't trying to change the world. He was just someone who saw something wrong and couldn't pretend he didn't see it. The real heroism on that set happened off camera, in a moment when Marcus Stone chose people over profit. When he chose a stranger's safety over his own career. When he stood up and said, "Not on my watch." And the crew that was there that day never forgot. They told their friends, their families. The story spread through Hollywood. Not in the press, but in the places where real people worked. Where being decent mattered more than being famous. Marcus Stone has made a lot of movies since then. He's won awards and made millions of people laugh and cry. But on September 18th, 2019, in a sweltering soundstage in Atlanta, Marcus Stone did something more important than entertain anyone. He stood up, he spoke up, and he refused to let anyone get hurt just to keep the cameras rolling. That's the Marcus Stone story worth telling. Not the action hero on screen. Not the celebrity with a perfect smile. The man who stopped a movie set and said, "Fix this or I'm done." The man who risked everything for a stranger. Because that's not just courage. That's character.